we help.
When you say into the shoes, does that mean you're saying that we're going to own it right then?
Yes.
Wait a minute, hold on. I thought it takes 30 years and at the end of the mortgage, then you can say that we'd be stepping into the shoes as the landlord. We're actually just paying the bank, and the bank would technically be the landlord. Is that not correct?
No, the bank's not a landlord.
You manage your area.
You buy your car.
Okay, so
you get a loan from the bank.
Yeah.
Okay, it's your car. You're responsible for the maintenance, everything on it, and the bank in Massachusetts anyway holds the title until the loan's paid off.
So when you say stepping into the shoes of the landlord, you don't mean that when we sign this paper that everyone's going to suddenly own the park.
Everybody is one entity who owns the park.
And when the loan is paid off is what you mean.
Excuse me?
I'm sorry. When you take a loan out for something, you don't own it until you actually pay the loan off. Do you agree?
Do you own your house?
I'm sorry, we're not talking about me. I asked you a question.
Well, it's very simple.
Are you trying?
It's mortgage law. You do own it. You own it. You can do what you want with it. You just have to make the mortgage payment.
But in the last meeting, you said that the bank, because they put so much money forward, would have the say. And you said it was because they are your sponsor. So that was your wording on it. So what did you mean by that the bank would have the final say? What did you mean?
Final say over whether you purchased the park?
No, that's not it at all.
Okay.
Do you not recall what you said last week?
The implication, I think, that is here is that the bank has some, and I would imagine there is some say in the operation of the
Okay,
park.
but I'll tell you what the bank has to say. The bank lends the money. Okay, it's not a. I don't know who the entity is. You could say the bank. I don't know who it would be ultimately, or it could be a combination of lenders. The bank lends the money to the cooperative to buy
The RLC USA.
Yeah, cooperative USA. And you have to run the cooperative best that you see fit. What we do is we make you budget. We make you make payments, pay your taxes. You can get an audit or a review every year. Okay. They make you deal with me for the next 30 years as long as you have a mortgage.
So you personally, you're saying, will be around?
Actually, I'm sorry.
He'd be a representative.
CBI, a CBI representative.
Oh,
You'll be dealing with CBI.
Because you don't know where you'll be next year.
Actually, I know hopefully I'll be right here to talk. But I very much plan to be in this situation.
Because you have moved around a lot according to your resume.
According to my resume, I've had 2 or 3 jobs at a time too.
I'm sorry, that you had what?
2 jobs at a time.
Oh, 2 or 3 jobs at a time, yeah.
Actually, I have.
Yeah.
I own interest in 14 companies.
Well, I imagine, sure.
Yes. In any event, that doesn't make any difference.
Of course it does. Whoa, I mean, hold on, don't just brush that aside.
Can I answer this gentleman's question about what control we have? I mean, you will own it as long as you make your mortgage payment. Okay?
And that was a 15-year fix, you said?
It's 30
And now,
year,
after the 15 years fixed, what happens?
It adjusts once.
And what does it adjust to?
The current rate at that time, 15 years from now.
So we don't know what the current rate is going to be in 15 years, and you're saying after that 15 years it's going to variable.
I'm saying it's going to adjust once, and if rates don't change, then it doesn't adjust.
But you know it's just going to adjust once, somehow. How?
Potentially.
That's the only
So the loan itself is an adjustable rate loan.
Actually, the loan, yeah. Other than adjustable rates is usually something that adjusts every day, month, year. It adjusts once.
The definition of it, whichever way you define it, if there's an adjustment in it, it's adjustable.
It's a long period without adjustments. But other than making your mortgage payment,
Well, why did you say the mortgage is fixed? It's fixed for 15 years. And then you left out in the same sentence that it was a 30-year mortgage after that. That's in last week's meeting.
Yes.
You were trying to lead us to believe that it was a 15-year mortgage. And at the end of it, that would be it. You said it's fixed for 15 years. It kind of sounded like you tried to make it sound like it was fixed for the rest, as if that was it.
It's fixed for 15 years because people ask me how long it's.
And then after that, there's 15 years that were variable. Is that correct?
There was one change after 15 years.
That's very important for us to know. That's why I like to know the details.
It's very important for you to know.
Thank you.
Andy, currently what rates are being proposed for loans?
7% is what we do in Massachusetts the first 15 years.
All right, why don't you continue?
Pardon me?
Why don't you continue? I'm happy.
Now, we do not run the association. We do not run the co-op.
Who is we?
We being CDI or Rocky would say, or the bank. Okay, none of those entities run. You have to run your co-op. We teach people how to run it. Teach people how to budget, how to get vendors, how to deal with annual elections of officers. What happens when you have an officer you want to get rid of? All of those things.
Well, those are things we could figure out ourselves too, just like the cooperative across the street, which does not have a CDI technical provider. Right. But last week you said it was even too complex. I asked you, I said, is this too complex for us to ponder? And you said, oh yes, it's very complex. Right, that was kind of like saying that...
That's still a reality. It's a complex arrangement.
Sure.
And not everybody would be able to figure it out. But the bottom line here is that if we as a group went out and tried to get a loan to do this, it would not happen.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I firmly believe that it would not happen. This loan that was going to be coming through ROC USA is there basically because there are organizations that are, in a sense, donating money, funding ROC USA to do this. And they do that because they get a benefit somewhere else.
Sure.
Okay?
So you don't get your funding from the bank?
Not always, but sometimes. It can vary. If you look in the back of that pamphlet, you see Bank of America is in UK, which is a federal agency. We deal with state agencies, we deal with local banks.
So you have a standard note that you give out?
It is a standard note that we give out, but what happens is we deal with a variety of funding sources. Okay, at any one time you have banks, with TD Bank, for example, that has invested with us. And sometimes they'll be like, well, we don't want to be in that deal. Well, we don't have a branch there, so we don't want to deal there. Sometimes their appetite comes and goes.
Now you said these banks last week were doing this because of, you said out of guilt. What did you mean by that?
Well, I mean, face it. You saw my resume. What did I spend most of my life in bank? They do it. They do.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't asking about your. No. You said last week that you said they might be doing it out of guilt. What did you mean?
They do it out of guilt.
They do it out of guilt. You're saying you're saying that these providers are doing it out of guilt.
Yes.
Actually,
how do you know that? Have you talked to them?
Well, for example, there's a federal law, the Community Reinvestment Act, where this is very subsidized lending. They're not like you.
So by them trying to help us, you're calling that guilt.
I'm sorry.
It's a phrase.
It's a phrase.
Okay, it's your phrase. I just wanted to know why you used it. Thank you.
Do we want to get down and talk about doing, about what this would cost or what this would, entail?
I'm sorry, what, are you trying to move on to the next thing?
Yes.
No, that's okay, because we've skirted around a few things. First off, I wanted to, the cost, because everybody wants to know that. That's what we're going to
Oh, the
First off,
numbers.
unlike the co-op across the street, we probably had to, everybody who joined probably had to come up with 10 or 20 grand a piece, right? There are a lot of those co-ops, there are a few of them around. Basically, I'm sorry, Rock USA Capital.
Thank you.
Lends, and don't have to,
I appreciate that.
Rock USA Capital lends 100% less than closing costs. Okay? So they're not looking for you to make significant investment in the cooperative. What we ask you to do is set your own share price.
Are you trying to say there's no principal down?
I'm saying that, yeah, there is nobody down.
Okay, thank you. To be clear.
We ask every group to set their own share price. Each household buys one share. We have one in Rhode Island that's $120 for this share. Okay? In New Hampshire, the average is usually $300 to $500, and they make plans to take that over time.
So in your 1 year of experience, that's what you found to be true?
Yeah.
And now you're talking about New Hampshire instead of Massachusetts, where we are. A concrete example. You're supposed to come here with concrete numbers today, like you said last week, and now we're still talking about New Hampshire example.
You like numbers?
I like numbers. Yes, I do, Andy. I do. I learned from them, Andy.
You can't have concrete numbers until there is a agreed price in
What
place.
does that mean, one share? So
One share. So
you're saying
each household has one share, because it's a democratic institution.
And ultimately will end up being...
You own 1/35th of the community. Okay?
You're one vote.
One vote in all elections, one vote in almost everything you can imagine. And you guys determine one vote means, does the group can vote on everything. And that's up to you. A lot of places say that, if you approve a budget, then the group doesn't have to approve everything as long as it's on the budget. And that type of thing. Some places say if it's an amount over $1,000, everybody has to vote on it, if it's not the budget. Except an emergency like that.
And last week you said there was...
And what happens if any one person decides they're selling their own unit, and what happens then?
What happens is the next person will buy your share, that 120, 300.
So it would be somebody else's responsibility to buy that. Now, what if
even if nobody here wanted to join the cooperative?
No, if everybody was part of it, but I decided on moving.
Okay.
So what happens to my share now that I'm not?
Well, okay, in other words, you become a member,
Yeah,
you go to sell your house,
yeah.
okay? It's usually mandatory that the next person who comes and buys your house, it's mandatory they become a member, okay? The reason being is the cooperative doesn't work if you don't have people who come in and employ people that leave, okay? So if you paid $300 for your share, that person, as part of their purchase, would have to be approved by the association. You set the criteria, not us. It may just be they just buy the house and they become a member as part of that. And they have to buy that $300 or whatever dollar share that you set up. Okay?
As I understand it,
Right.
Yeah, and their price, and actually when they sell a house, it's usually included in it, right? It's 19 grand, yeah, it's usually 20.
as I understand it, initially, the people that join the co-op are members. There can be people in the park initially who are not members, right? But as they sell their trailers, or as they move on, the sale of that trailer automatically makes the new person a member of the co-op, and that person would have to pay a sale price plus whatever co-op membership fee the co-op has set up.
Right.
And in addition to that, as a cooperative, we would have a set of standards in the sense of financial standards as to the person has to have maybe this FICO score or this kind of net worth, et cetera, whatever we would determine that to be. In order for that sale to actually go through, they would have to meet our standards.
Yeah, so you can set that up. I mean, you have to be within the law, you're not discriminating against anybody, but you can set basic.
All I said was financial.
Yeah, financial. But yeah, that's good. And you set up the standards. I'll tell you what I've seen in the market, and you can, what CPI, I'm not going to say it's in the market, and you can use that, or some places just say, well, if they can buy the trailer and they're not, and they're not a convicted felon or something like that, then they can become members of different religion.
Now, what happens to those, say there's 10 people who want to do it, however many don't want to do it? How do those that don't want to do it affect?
It has to be 51%. You have to have 51% or else.
Okay.
Or else
All right. So what if that 49% says no, but 51 says yes? What happens to the 49%?
So first off, they don't have the vote.
Okay, so they don't have a vote.
They don't have a vote. They can also be charged higher rent.
Okay.
This sounds like it would be a real division in the park. You don't find that this causes problems, like people fighting maybe?
Right.
You see this as that, you say no problem at all? In your experience of 1 year, you haven't come across any problems?
I've been in commercial real estate.
Oh, I'm sorry, but we're talking about this thing right now, not your commercial.
That's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. But if you want to talk about your commercial,
Can I? No. But if you want to go 26.
Excuse me for a moment. You asked this gentleman a question.
I certainly did.
He was giving you an example from what he has encountered in his experience.
I asked for an exact example of a cooperative, not some previous commercial example. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I've actually been working with almost 10 years. But let me talk about that. There are always people that don't join. There's always some percentage. Okay? There are always people that don't want to take part. Even if they join and pay their fee, they don't have to show up. This is America. You don't have to go to the polls, right? It's true. There's no mandatory. You can't make anybody vote. It's the 14th Amendment. There's no slavery here. You can't make anybody vote. You can't make anybody help you. As long as they pay their membership rent, then they can be there. Does it turn, do you have groups one against another?
Sure.
Just as much as any other.
You take.
Just as much as any other, you have people that turn against groups. You have one side of the parks that don't make the other side.
Did you say sometimes one side of the park will turn against the other park? Is that what you just said?
It does happen in places.
Okay, really?
But you get the same type of thing you do with any